We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality show with a touch of recovery. A reality show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one, absolutely no one, is insignificant who shares.
And I'm joined here by my co-host and recording artist, Lolita Robinson.
How are you doing today on this
to another
nice
day of Joy in My House.
Well, thank you. This is your kind of weather. You like
yes,
hot,
I like it hot.
weather.
I like it hot.
Gosh,
it's a little tough sometimes over the collar when you're wearing a suit and tie because I went to church today.
All right, there you go.
Out in Brea, I'm trying out this new, the Cause Community Church, which is a church that you spoke at.
I did. How's the pastor doing?
Pastor does well.
They still have the Celebrate Recovery?
They still have the Celebrate Recovery. Margie Shim was still over that.
Sweet.
She's a sweetheart.
Give her a shout out for me.
I will.
Okay.
But it's just a church that's kind of local to my house. I'm trying to find the right fit for me.
Yeah.
And
I know you miss our church and stuff, but it's far to get up
to Long Beach from Orange County.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You know, well, good for you.
So like I said, I'm searching still.
Okay.
So we want to thank all of you, our listeners and viewers out there, for being a part of the joy that we have in our house here on www.latalklive.com. Yeah. We had a great show for you last week.
Yes, we did.
Pastor Michael Barnett.
And I read his book.
Pastor Michael Barrett.
I read his book. It is fabulous. Very well written. You know, his story is quite a testimony to what God can do in a life that, as his book says, is surrendered.
He served 18 years of a 21-year sentence.
That's crazy. That is crazy. And just to see how God has put him in ministry and his wife. Well, and you, my friend, got to host I
hosted a screening of the show. Of his new movie called Beyond the Shield.
Yeah.
Which was a great inspirational story. Not his life story.
Right.
But just a great story of redemption, of forgiveness.
And you know what I like about it? Because there were some glitches, you know, things that he has to work out. But the fact that he stepped out, I think people are afraid. Mm-hmm. I work with people who ask me how do I get my writing done. I'm not afraid to just put it on the paper, even though it doesn't look great. It's messy, but you got to get out there so that God can shape it and mold it and present it. And I'm proud of him. He wrote the story.
He wrote the story, produced the story, directed the story.
There you go. That's what Tyler Perry did.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's how it starts. We step out in faith.
Right.
And it's difficult because it is scary. And, the enemy does use our insecurities, our issues against us, and makes us believe that we can't do it, we shouldn't do it. For me right now, it's my age. I'm getting a little older. My birthday passed a couple weeks ago or whenever it was.
Happy birthday, yeah.
But you start feeling a little older, and
there you go. Richard is so cool. Thank you, Richard. Good to see you.
And, you start... especially in the industry that I'm in, where I work with professional fighters. These kids are younger, stronger, faster, and I'm thinking, I can't keep up with these kids. Wow. What am I doing in this business?
Well,
but then
you're not doing that, but you're not getting in the ring with them.
Well, I don't get in the ring with them anymore. No. But I had an opportunity last night to celebrate one of my green belts. One of my green belts' was her 8th birthday.
Okay.
So they invited me to the birthday party, and I got to attend. Mm-hmm. And I trained her daughter. She's an orthodontist, and her husband's a gastrologist.
Wow.
And I trained the daughter and the really young daughter, who's about 3 years old. And they do very well. And one of my other clients was there, and her daughter, who's 8 as well. And I thought, God, why do you have me still doing this? Why am I still teaching? And especially working with kids. Really, is that what I'm supposed to be doing?
That's exactly what I know what
But
you
then
mean,
the parents came after me and said, Joel, you're such a blessing to our family, to our lives. The parents are very busy, so I go there and I train them on a Wednesday when they're not home. Their nannies are there.
Oh, wow.
So I get to inspire them and speak to them, and they're Christians. So one of the little girls tells me, I always tell her, how was school today? She goes to a Christian daycare, and she's like, I talked to Jesus.
Oh.
And it just kind of fills my heart, and it reminds me that God has a purpose for me.
Yes, he does.
Whether it's working with fighters, whether it's, I had the opportunity to do the red carpet for the film.
How was that?
God is constantly just working with me in different avenues, and it's interesting how...
Well, because you know what he's showing me, kind kind of what you're saying there is that he is over everything.
He
We
is.
don't have a ministry. That's what he told me. You don't have a ministry. You are my servant. And so wherever I send you is the
That's
ministry for that day.
That's
So
right.
it took me a long time to get that one. Because it's cooking, it's washing dishes, it's singing.
Well, how interesting, because that's what
Okay.
Pastor was talking about in service today,
Really?
that God is over everything. He
Yep.
is in everything.
Yes,
he
he
is
is.
everything. So it's just so interesting how God is just revealing things to me
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah.
Because I'm frustrated right now. I'm going through a period of being in the desert. Even though I have a
lot going
lot going on, but I'm very
What do you mean
isolated.
by that? Because to me it looks like you're busy doing things. You're teaching people. You just did the red carpet. We're bringing guests back again because we had that season where we was just doing the topics. So how do you feel like you're in a desert even though you are busy?
It's an emotional and spiritual thing.
Okay, well, there you go.
Going through my Celebrate Recovery process, and I'm in my 5th step study, my 6th step study, 5 or 6 step study.
Okay.
And this is the journey continues, and it's getting real deep because we're in our amends process.
Oh boy.
So I'm writing down my amends, all my hurts and all the hurts that I've caused.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to I had to go buy a present, so I saw my ex-girlfriend, who's the mother of Alicia and Sebastian,
Oh, okay.
at her work, Nordstrom's, out in
Okay.
Brea, and I went to go buy a gift, and I say, how are you? How are you doing? And she's like, we had talked about it. She's like, I want to come on your show. Do I have to write a book to come on your show?
Oh, she's really wanting to do
She
this,
does.
huh?
But I told her,
Okay.
it's not about writing a book. It's about what you're willing to share. Are you willing to be transparent?
Right.
And I also told her, is your husband going to come too? There's got to be a level of respect and integrity that goes
Good for
alongside
you.
when you're sharing.
Yeah.
So we're out here. We're not saying we're perfect, but God is still working on us.
So what's the final verdict?
I told her she has to pray about it.
Yeah, and ask Jimmy, right?
Yeah, she's got to pray
Yeah.
about it and confront him and say, is it okay if, I go on the show and come out and support and become a part of
Yeah,
this?
because she's going to be talking about your relationship, I'm sure.
That's right.
Wow. Well, I can see why,
So
that's
God is
so
still doing the
cool.
work because,
Yeah, he is.
I still have resentment towards her. I still have
Yeah.
things that I need to deal with regarding her. And
Right.
so God is not done, and he's not done in your life either.
No, he's not.
Even though sometimes it's painful, the rewards are amazing. And that's what I was going to get to, because then I get to do these amazing things, like work with
Right.
these children and give them the gift that God has given me of
That's right.
teaching, doing the red carpet. I get to go and do these amazing things for Beyond the Shield, a great inspirational movie.
Yes.
But why? Because I've surrendered to God. God is going to use me when I surrender, because when I don't, nothing's happening.
Nothing
When
works
I'm
out.
running out there, running the streets, doing what I want to do, things don't work out the way I want them to work out.
There you go. There you go. I know
So it's a
exactly
tough
what you
walk.
mean.
So
It
it's
is a tough walk. How's the kid? Everybody's doing well with your mom and dad. How are they doing?
Everything's, as good as can be, to be
Right.
honest with you. So when I look back in retrospect, what do I really have to complain about? Really nothing. God has been really good to me.
That
So I
doesn't
gotta-
stop me from
And that's what I wanted to ask you. During this season, how do you feel God's working on you?
Oh my God, he is dripping me, and I am dying to myself because he's closed up everything that, other than my writing. I'm working on another book, and my son and I are getting that going. But he is stripping me of my identity, my will, and I'm dying to Lolita and allowing him to work. I have a house full of people now. My family from Chicago, I'm glad they're here. But I'm having to give and serve and to be open. I like to keep people at a distance, and he's not allowing me to do that. He's not.
So he puts
allowing me to
all
do
these
that.
people in your home. How
Yes,
funny.
he does. Yes, he does.
Because I'm the same way. My number one go-to is isolation.
Yeah, we were talking
That's
about that.
my number
yeah.
one. I don't like people. I don't want to talk to you. I don't need to know your story. And the next thing, God puts this person that I just
Yeah.
need to hear that story
Yes, he
from them.
does.
And it connects with my soul. And he's reminding me of my struggles and my challenges and how he saw me through them.
Yep.
And it just breaks me down every time. Because
It does.
'Cause it's a work.
Because his way is not our way, and where he's directing me is nowhere where I want to go at all. But I'm like, Lord, you know what? You're running the show. I can feel the inner work, the patience, the more loving, the more gracious, more, seasoning my tongue with grace, not being as aggressive. I'm not really an aggressive personality, but I can come back quick and say stuff that I don't need to be saying. So a lot
Wow.
of the work, and I love Bishop Jakes is talking about that, the foundational work. Like I tell people, I'm getting new plumbing. That's not exciting to people.
right.
Okay, people want new carpeting. I'm getting new plumbing. So It's all good. So I'm looking forward to today.
Today we have a great show for you,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-huh.
We have an in-studio guest by the name of Carlos Marroquin. Marroquin is a community organizer. He's a Bernie Sanders Brigade leader.
All right.
And it's going to be a powerful show today. I don't want you to miss. So I want you to find us on Facebook, link up with us, like the fan page, receive up-to-date lineups of guests and information. We have a Twitter page where you can tweet us with any questions or comments. And we also have an Instagram page where you can follow us on Instagram/Joy in My House. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to come back with Carlos Marroquin. You're not going to want to miss. Stay tuned.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on LATalkLive.com. Inspirational radio,
with a touch of recovery.
a reality show where nothing is left unsaid,
And no one is insignificant who says it.
exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality show with a touch of recovery. I'm joined here by my co-host and author of Shaped by the Master's Hand, Lolita Robinson, Let's get it going.
and our in-studio guest, Carlos Marroquin. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here today.
All right.
Well, we always like to let our audience and viewers know how we met. We had a great guest several weeks ago by the name of Aaliyah Molden and her mom, Martha, who is her momager, takes care of her career, and she was on The Voice and was third place,
Yeah,
the
really
youngest to ever get that far on The Voice, referred me to you and said, you got to have this amazing man. He's very inspirational. He's a Christian. You got to have him on the show. And a lot of times before I book anybody for the show, I do my research.
Yeah.
I look them up. I make sure that their Facebook and everything's appropriate for the show. I don't want anything kind of to come up that I don't know about. But what was interesting is anytime that I'm desperately looking for a guest, I have amazing guests lined up, but they just couldn't do it this Sunday. And I said, God, well, all right. I went and I go to this little Catholic church in La Habra and I pray. And I go, God, you need to book the show.
Right.
I can't do this. And the minute I said that, I called you up. It was a Friday. This is Friday. I don't book the show 3 days before the show.
Right.
But God does. 3 days before the show, I called you. You called me back. And I said, I would love to have you on the show. Not knowing your story is a powerful story. God booked you for the show. So you are the person that needs to be here today and needs to say your story.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm happy to be here. And I believe always that God always has a purpose for everything.
Yeah.
His timing is perfect.
It really is. It really is. Well, let's let our audience and viewers get to know you a little bit, Carlos. We met through Martha. She referred me over to you. But where were you born?
I was born in Guatemala,
Oh, okay.
Guatemala City in Central America. And I came here as a small child and been here ever since.
How many brothers and sisters, siblings?
Yes, I have 7 brothers
Oh, wow.
and 1 sister.
Wow.
And we all raised together, and it was a interesting way to be raised.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you came here?
I was here at the age around 10
Okay.
or so.
So let's talk
the
about
difference in the
growing
culture.
up. Yeah, let's talk about growing up in Guatemala. What did that look like? What was that like?
Well, it was. It's been so many years. I'm 57 by now, and it was my childhood. I remember us struggling. Mm-hmm. My dad had left to the States. He came here so that he can basically so that he can have more opportunities for us. And so we were raised by our mom, and there was, they got divorced.
Oh, wow.
And it was really hard then. But my dad worked and he sent for us. And my mother had to make a very, very tough choice.
Yeah.
She keep us or should she let us go?
Oh, that is really
And
rough.
now as an adult and as a father,
You understand.
I understand the decision that she made for us.
Right.
Wow, how selfless of her.
But then you didn't, I'm sure, huh?
I was, we're confused, we're broken, I want them both in my life, and that couldn't happen. And it was a constant place of being broken because a divorce doesn't, it's no good. It doesn't help the children,
Well,
And
that's
especially
security.
not having a mother, too. I mean, a mother and father they both bring a lot to the table, but not having your mom must have been.
Well, you were
know,
raised by your
yeah.
mom this whole time, and
Yeah,
then having to
then.
be raised by your father.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is it's a typical story, especially with Latinos, because
Really?
the United States and California are so close here that a lot of times it happens where the father comes over to try and make a door for their family,
Right.
but then he gets so involved here that he ends up leaving the family and then sends for just the kids.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
see,
it's
now
a
I'm learning
typical
something.
Latino story. To be
Okay.
honest with you, it happens more often than
Then
we
not? Okay.
think.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, they both sacrificed. My dad sacrificed a lot. My mom sacrificed immensely. And, it was us just trying to understand what was going on. It was difficult because my dad was, trying to raise 7 children. He was
my
never
gosh.
home,
Wow.
And then I have a stepmother. And,
What was she like?
it was rough,
She was a
because,
stepmother, yeah.
we didn't belong to her.
Right.
And I love her because she actually, took care of us.
Did the best
It
she
wasn't
could, right?
perfect, but he took care of us. And, growing in a family
Where were
of...
you in the
with-
lineup with all your 7
I
brothers?
was the third one.
Oh, goodness. So you were kind of like parenting some of the
Yeah.
others, too.
And the thing
Yeah.
it was that I was always sick because I suffer a lot from my lungs from asthma,
Oh,
severe
boy.
asthma. So I was always inside. I could never go outside. I used to see my brothers play, and I was
Oh,
like always
boy.
looking at them.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was very, very rough, very lonely, very
Isolated.
Yeah.
isolated.
Uh-huh.
Always wanted to do stuff that all the kids were doing, and I couldn't because I
Wow.
was always sick.
Oh, boy. So you have quite a bit of testimony in terms of understanding what people go through and just the abandonment, probably. Did you feel abandoned a lot? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I felt very lonely, and this is what I think what makes me the person that I am today. That I'm very compassionate. I understand people. I put myself in their place. I know what it is to be sick. I know what it is to have no one to turn to.
There you go.
All those things. I understand it. I live them.
Well, that's what we talk about. We talk about being authentic. You can't be unless, Jesus said that you comfort those with the comfort that you have received. I think we want to have these ministries or be used, but you can't be used if you haven't gone through some things because you can't relate to people. So I'm hearing exactly what you're saying.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
coming here to this country as a child, and I didn't speak English. You have to learn the language. The new culture. All those are things.
And where
that
did you
are-
end up when you got over here? Where did you guys go?
We moved to Hollywood in the same house that
Oh.
my dad. I mean, he's
Okay.
a great person. He just recently passed away at the
Bless
age of
his soul.
89.
Okay.
But he set the great example for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He never asked us to hate our mother. I always, make sure that we take care of her,
Mm-hmm.
even though we're separated. So we learn a lot. So there's a lot to learn from bad circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet.
And we can make the most out of them.
There you go. Very well
Well, let's
said.
talk about your faith. Were you a religious family? Were you a religious family in Guatemala? Were you a religious family when you came on over here with your father? Tell us a little bit about
Yes, we're raised Catholics.
Yeah.
And, my dad and my mom, they are very dedicated to their church. And, I was raised a Catholic. But I came to know Jesus after I came out of the service. I went to the military. I'm a veteran and proud to have served the
Thank
country.
you so much. Thank
And-
you for your service.
Yes, and after that I came out. I actually, just like most of us being young, we think we know the world.
Right.
And,
We know
and,
it all, yeah.
and especially me that I have lived a very sick, early childhood, being very
Sheltered.
sick and
Yeah.
stuff. When I got out there finally to the, because my asthma kind of
Yeah,
subsided.
Yeah, my
grew it.
youngest son, my oldest son had that too, but as he got older, not as bad.
Right. So it
Okay.
kind of went away.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I actually, I run away from home. I run away from home because it was tough. At least I thought that it was tough, but.
How old were you when you ran away?
15 years old.
Wow.
And I never went back.
Was it because your father was telling you, if you live here under my roof, you're going to do what I tell you to do?
Yeah, he was very strict, and I couldn't understand a lot
There
of
you
stuff
go.
that what was going on. And back in the 70s, when I
There
was
was no
going
explanations, right? It was just
No.
do what I say, or else
Yeah,
you're
you
gonna
right.
switch.
Here you go.
I mean, he was firm,
Old school. That's what I was telling my niece today in the school. I guess she was saying, "Man, you all don't play." I said, "Honey, back in the day, the old school, we don't play
Yeah.
with the kids what they're doing today."
Yeah, there's
So
no
you're-
explanation. You're just
no.
told what to do,
You
and
do
and-
it.
And,
Right.
it does get confusing. It gets you have that. Well, why is this happening when this should be happening, and why is everybody else doing this when this? And it gets confusing, which causes us to feel desperate. And you must have felt trapped.
Right. Well, it's a lot had to do with the discipline. Our families were very disciplined, and we didn't like discipline, and we wanted a little more freedom. And we talked to our friends, and we see them all out there having so-called
Exactly.
fun,
Fun.
and we wanted to have it too. And and that says no, you cannot go.
Wow.
And it was tough. So I decided
Wow.
to go my own way, and I tell you, it was rough. I lived
Where
in the
did you
streets for 2
go?
years.
Oh, you're kidding.
Wow.
I was living in the streets for 2 years.
Oh,
and
my
that's when I
goodness.
realized this life is gonna end up. I'm gonna end up
So
dead.
you're the prodigal son for sure.
Yes.
Okay,
I mean,
you can understand the prodigal son. Did you get? Well, yeah. If you're on the streets,
and I had so much pride that I thought that I can handle it, and I did, and I was out there on the
Wow.
streets, and I was gonna die. That's when I joined the service.
did your father come and look for you?
No, he didn't. He was upset,
Tough love, yeah.
And that
Yeah,
was
not
tough for
laughing.
me because I
Yeah.
wanted him to come look for me.
Right.
I was dying for him to come look for me.
Right.
And he didn't. Years passed, and then the next time that I actually talked to him is when I was in the service, and I called him, and I told him that I was in the service. He just took silent for a moment, and then he hung up. He was
Oh.
upset. He was hurt.
He
and
was
I
hurt.
understand.
Yeah. Okay.
My dad was hurt. He did
Yeah.
everything for us, and this is how I was,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
you
I
paid
paid him.
back. Yeah.
But later when I took some time off from the military,
And life hit
I
you.
came
Yeah.
to go. I went to his work, and I wore my uniform.
Oh.
And
What
he
ser-
couldn't go
what-
nowhere
What branch were you in?
in the army.
The Army. Congratulations. So when you showed up in your outfit, what did he say?
He just looked. He couldn't go nowhere because I went to his work, and there were all the co-workers, and he just looked at me, and I looked at him, and then we hugged.
Wow.
And then he goes, "Welcome home. Come to the house."
That's so
Wow.
And
beautiful.
so we had a great time coming together and accepting each other, and I apologize, and we never looked back. I learned a lot. I mean, I have learned so much in my life through a lot of things that I had to experience. Some stuff of my own choosing. Sometimes we create our own hell, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah.
we do.
You know,
Yeah, we do.
But I met Jesus, and He opened up my eyes.
Well, I wanted
Well,
to talk about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, as you all are talking, because you guys I was raised Catholic too up until 7, but you guys came up in a Catholic home.
Yeah, I came
So I
up-
always
yeah.
like to really reiterate to the audience, when you say, well, you were Catholic, what do you mean then you found Jesus? Can you explain that to our audience? Because
Yes. Well, to me, there was always something missing.
Okay.
Going to church as a Catholic, and I don't not the Catholic Church. I mean, I understand where they're coming from,
Right.
but there was not the personal relationship with Christ. There was always something missing. So when somebody actually introduced me to Christ, I was hurting. I was just like everybody else out there, boozing it up and
Yeah.
using drugs and doing all kinds of stuff. But then, somebody talked to me about Jesus, and I accepted him into my life. And I remember that day because I was stoned out of my brains. and somebody prayed for me, and immediately at that moment, I just felt something coming inside of me.
Wow.
And literally, I got sober on the spot. And,
I've
and
heard that
that
testimony.
never
I've heard
happens.
Right,
No.
right.
I mean, I've been out there where I have been partying and drinking and doing everything that needs to be done out there, and you just don't get sober on the spot.
No, you
know,
don't.
there's
No,
not there's not a pill that you take or a drink that you drink to get you sober. But I remember that day when I was accepting Christ and I got sober on the spot, and I knew it was real. Nobody could tell me, well, how do you know God
Right.
is real? You know what I mean?
You felt it.
I knew inside of me that something took place.
And I agree
Amen.
because
Amen.
I was raised Catholic too,
And I
and
think it's
going to
important for the audience.
parochial school, learning about Christ, it gave me a great foundation, a great background of the history and the Word of God. But when I met Christ, it was like you said, a personal relationship. I felt like I can talk to Him directly, where before it was
You go
still through the priest, or there was still a disconnect.
Right.
But I love my Catholic traditions. I love all the stuff that they do. I think it has a reason for it, like you said. But my personal walk with Christ is a whole different ballgame. It's really having that one-on-one, which is what we look for, especially as people who isolate, people who have felt abandoned. We look to our godly Father now as our Father, where before our earthly Father, we
Right.
felt abandoned.
And that's what makes the difference in Christianity.
Yeah.
You could go to church every day if you want
Right.
to and still don't have a relationship with Christ. I can be somewhere in the mountain and still have the relationship with Him. I've gone to prisons to go visit people. I did a lot of prison work. And some of those people in there are so free because they have the relationship with Christ.
Right.
Which was like our guest pastor,
Yeah,
Michael
Pastor Barrett.
Barrett.
Yeah.
Same thing. He found Christ in the prison system, serving 18 years of a 21-year sentence. And God gave him favor, just like He was giving you favor when you gave your life to Christ. Let's talk about after. So you give your life to Christ, you find Jesus.
Well, what was happening? Well, okay. Well, you got a lot to talk about. So go ahead. I'm just,
So tell me
yeah.
about that.
Well, my life
So
started
no
changing.
school. So you dropped out of school totally.
Yeah, I dropped out of school.
Okay,
I went
yeah.
to the service.
Right, that's right, you did
I
say that.
strained up. I started looking life different because I learned really quickly. I was 17 years old when I went in the military.
Oh boy, I bet that's so. Well, that probably sobered you for a minute.
Next thing I know is like, wow, I'm surrounded with men,
Right.
and
You got to learn quick to survive.
It was quickly, but everybody liked me because they saw me as their son, as their little brother.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
young. I mean, I was 17 years old.
Gosh.
And
you thought you knew it all, right? Oh, you
but
knew it all.
then I came to know it all because I grew up with men. These men took me in, and they
Yeah.
literally showed me a lot that had, in
So
life.
do you recommend that for maybe there's a mom out there whose son is signing up and she's really upset? Because I know some mothers in the store who are the cashiers and their sons are getting ready to sign up, and I'm teary-eyed, she's teary-eyed. But as a woman, I don't think we can maybe identify what a man would get in getting in the service. Can you?
Yes, it
Yeah.
helps you. I encourage my kids to go, and I understand the other side. Nobody wants to put their lives on the line, but there's so much to learn in the military. So much to learn. It helped me. I can tell you that right now.
Right.
It gave me a different view of life, especially when you go overseas.
Oh,
You get to
shoot.
see a lot of other stuff that
Yeah.
otherwise you would not see.
Yeah, it cultures you.
Cultures and
Yeah.
discipline for a
Structure
young.
and discipline,
If you
right.
have a young son and especially single moms, it struggles because the young man is trying to find himself.
Right.
And the military does help. I tell you, at least it helped me.
Okay.
And it shows you discipline. Something that I didn't like, obviously
Yeah, of
that's
all
why I ran
things,
away.
You ran away, but then
Right.
then to run into that.
You ran away from the structure into something.
more
Into
structure.
a very structure where you
Yes,
are
yes.
told, what time to get up, what time to brush
So
your
what
teeth.
did you think? You were going to go like they show you those commercials, far away exotic places, and they'll pay your school? Is that why you signed
No,
up?
I knew where I was getting to. I went
But-
at the end of the Vietnam era. But, the
Wow.
interesting thing is this, that through it all, God had his hand on me. Because
Yeah.
even in the military, I had, experiences in there that I could have been dead,
Yeah, that's
and God
serious.
always kept His hand on me, and I knew that there was something, why is it that my vehicle didn't roll over and end up, dying, on a certain situations or a bullet hitting me or whatever, I mean, that there's something else. There's a reason why you're living. There's a reason why you're moving forward.
And Lolita talks a lot about that when she mentions that God puts people in our lives throughout our lives, but when we're not receptive to it, we kind of oversee it. But God does have His hand in your life and does put people strategically in your life for a reason.
Who led you to Christ? Was it somebody in the military or?
No, I actually, because I was,
That's a good point.
again, it was outside of the military. This was after I got out of the service. But I was, again, out there trying to find life, going to clubs, doing all these things. And there was something missing.
Again.
And again, when I experienced that, I was looking for life in the wrong places, in the wrong things. And I had tried everything that needs to be tried, and nothing was satisfying.
And obviously, you have children, so
Right.
must have met
I
a
mean,
wife or
somebody,
something,
well,
yeah.
at that time I was still single, but,
Okay.
Again, somebody spoke to me about Christ, and I like, what is this? I didn't understand. And they said, let me pray for you. And would you like to receive Jesus? I say, sure, I'll receive him. And I wanted to try something different. I mean, I had tried everything out there, and I'm like, there has to be something else.
Nothing was fulfilling you.
Nothing was fulfilling. Nothing was giving you the high that you always wanted to get. You
there
know what I
go,
mean?
right.
And that happens with a lot of kids today. It's like they're always trying a new drug or
New girl or some new shoes or new something.
new something.
Right.
He's trying to get that feeling that makes you feel fulfilled. And he did. I mean, when he came into my life, I just knew that I had reached where I needed to be at. And I haven't been the same since.
And when was that when you received Christ?
That was back in the 80s, early
Wow,
80s.
okay, so it's
you
been
know, it's
so
been a
it's-
long time.
So it's true.
And I've got so involved in the church. I did a lot of work, and this is where my activism comes in part, because I started noticing even in church that, by the way, I was a pastor. I served as a pastor as well.
Wow, okay.
And one of the things that really, really I was seeing how God was guiding me was the fact that we get so complacent in the church. The church becomes more about us, just the church.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
And even though that we preach, you got to go out there into the
Yeah.
highways and byways, and it becomes like a routine
Yes, it
type
does.
of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it becomes too much about us, about the church, rather than the people. And I have always been about the people. Through all my life, I had all those experiences, and I knew that there was something more than just going to church, preaching another sermon, and and doing the Christian thing. I think that church needed to go outside of church.
Yeah. Well, that's
You
what
know?
the Lord tells us to do. Go
Right.
out and. But you're right. We can't get comfortable, and it becomes more like a country club, or somewhere to just kind of, meet and fellowship, but not get out there. I know it's hard for me. I don't. The people that are going to Uganda and all these different places, I feel like that's hard. But
And I
that's what
wanted
we're called to
talk about
do.
that, because you had labeled, they labeled you the mailman. Tell us a little bit about that. What is that about?
Carlos the Mailman. That's how I was known when we started getting involved in social media. I work for the post office. I'm a mailman.
Oh my
that's
goodness! So
that's
you've
what
done
I
quite a
actually
bit.
do.
How did you? Okay, you said you were a pastor. Did you go to school to become a pastor, or?
Yes, I went to school. I went to
Okay.
Bible college, but it was a calling to me. It was nothing that.
That's what we're talking
that-
about. Dr.
Right.
Pastor Burnett was talking about too. Yeah, you felt
And it's
called.
very important to know that it's like you know,
Yeah.
yes, you could go to college, but you're never gonna have the inspiration that God gives you.
Exactly.
You
We
know,
were talking about that.
I have known people that never gone to college, never done for different things,
I
and
agree.
are very effective in what they do. As an activist, people have told me that they don't understand how is it that, that I get things done when there's people that get paid for what I do,
Right.
and I'm being more effective than they are.
Okay.
And I, a combination of things. One of them, of course, I always give the glory to God. I believe that God has me doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And the other one is because, again, the experience that I have lived, I understand people, and I understand what it takes to get things done.
Well, let's talk about some of those experiences, because you did become an activist. You did want to help. Tell me.
So what's the difference? Yeah, between activism? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It was just you became an activist. Tell us, how are you helping now? How are you being an activist?
Yeah, well, that had to do with even me being a pastor.
That's what I was going to ask. 'Cause
And
ministry to me is activism, but it's different.
Right, it's a lot different. As a pastor, you're in charge of a flock, and you care for them, and you care for the people. You do things, but to me, I felt that I was being limited. I felt that there needed to be something more needed to be done. We had a prison ministry. We fed the homeless. We did all those things that a lot of churches do, and I don't knock them. It's good, and we need to do those things. But I felt that I needed to be out there with the people in the streets. I needed to do more. I needed to take it to a different level. I became very, very involved in movements. Some people don't understand it. Some people think that people are radical because they're out there on the streets protesting and stuff. But I picked specific issues. Let's say, for example, I got really involved with the Occupy movement.
Did you stay down there? Did you go downtown?
I actually was at the City
Wow.
Hall. I was one of the people
down there
that
for
started
months.
over there. And I want to tell you, this is very, when I share this story, how I really got involved with the Occupy movement, it blows people's minds. Because I was doing a lot of foreclosure work, anti-foreclosure work. People were losing their homes. I lost my home to
A foreclosure, okay.
on a foreclosure.
Okay.
And the way it happened, I was not behind payments.
What?
I had over $300,000 of equity in my house.
What?
One day I came back from work, and there's a for sale sign outside the door, and outside my house, and I'm like, I'm not selling my home. What is this? So then they had the sign had a website. So I go on the website, and surely there was my house for sale, and I freaked out. I said, how can this possibly be? They had changed the title to my house. And they were
Somebody
stripping
like
all the equity out.
You mean identity theft?
Yeah, they changed the title to my house, and they were taking all the equity out. And believe me, I went everywhere that you could
I've
possibly
heard about
think that
that.
you could go to, trying to get help, and no one will help me. I went to the
Oh.
FBI, I went to the police, I went to every government agency. No one will help me. They basically tell me, you need to file a lawsuit, which I did. I took
Against
the
who,
people to
though?
court. But get this. This is why I do what I do, why I'm so passionate.
Oh my gosh.
I took the people to court. I won my case at the LA Superior Court. And you know what when the judge ordered the house back to me, I got what is called quiet title. It was given back to me by the judge. The bank literally ignored the judge's decision.
Wow.
Took it to a different court.
Oh no.
I went to the court with a statement with a decision by the court where I went through a trial.
Oh my
And
gosh.
basically the other judge told me, take your paper out of my court, get out, the house belongs to the bank. Just like that.
Wow.
I couldn't even feel.
So was it the bank who did it? You think who
Of
was
course,
under-
well, that was part of it. But
Yeah.
see, it was, these cases were so complicated.
That the courts, they don't want to deal with it. They want a quick fix. Let's just do this.
Right.
And if they can't do anything,
So
you know what,
literally,
guys?
I got thrown out of my home.
Oh my gosh.
I got thrown out of my home, and my wife was really hurt. She had moved in with her folks. I was very depressed because I pay for attorneys, and I literally had to take all my retirement money,
Yeah.
so in order for me to pay for the attorney. So now I didn't have no home. I didn't have no retirement money. I had lost everything.
Everything.
Literally everything. I stood in in one of the rooms in the house,
Did you know
I didn't
Christ
want to
then?
go out.
Did you know Jesus by that point? Yeah, you
Yes,
did,
I
yeah.
knew Jesus, and I couldn't understand
And you said,
it.
Jesus, where
why
were
was
you?
what
Yeah.
was going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, why did I get abandoned? But
Mm-hmm.
again, you know, I didn't understand it. I wanted to understand what was going on. And all of a sudden, I got that inspiration. He says, you know what I mean? And we go back to the scriptures where he tells us, you know what I mean, that all these things on earth are earthly.
That's
Yeah.
right.
you
And
sure
where's
do.
your heart at? You know what I mean? Do you love me? Do you know?
Yeah,
do
you
you
gonna
really
test
really
me.
love me?
Yeah, we
you know,
say
you're
that.
talking about scriptures
Yeah.
coming to life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, my life is more than a house. My life is more than a car. My life is more than material things.
It isn't.
You know
we
what I
don't
mean?
we're strangers here. We're passing through.
Exactly.
You're right.
So it was more about people. So I knew this one thing, that if this happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, someone that had a good job, and someone that you know understand things and can hold things, comprehend things, and have some form of education. Yet it happened to me. How much is this happening to people
other
that could not
people.
fight for themselves?
Wow. And
Seniors.
that's what started your passion for wanting to give back.
And see, and you're shining a light because we're thinking all these people that lost their homes were low lives, didn't pay they got
Right.
in over their
You-
head. They took, see, that's not, so thank you. Thank
And
you
you'll
for
be
shining
so
light.
surprised. I mean,
Wow.
I have met people, countless of people out there. This is where the Occupy movement came in.
I
I went to
didn't know
Olvera
that.
Street. I was trying to, I was trying to do events, trying to bring homeowners together. We will
To
meet
try and
at
fight,
people's
yeah.
homes. It was 2 or 3 people that would come. Because this was a very embarrassing for people to
Heck
know
yeah.
that I'm losing my home. I don't want the public to know. I don't want my neighbors to know. I will hold meetings, and very few people will come.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to the media, even with my own case, and nobody was listening.
Wow.
It was the homeowner's fault. You know what I
Yep,
mean?
that's what I thought.
You bought too much home.
Yep, you
know,
couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, all
Yep.
those things that we heard.
Yep.
So I went to Olvera Street one day, and something drove me to go over there. And I'm walking, and then all of a sudden, I saw a lot of people going to one of the churches right there. It was a Methodist church. And I'm like, I wonder what's going on in here. So I went in the church, and it was a prayer meeting. They were celebrating the revival that took place in Los Angeles years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Azusa Street.
Exactly.
Right.
And it was a prayer meeting. And they were praying. So I decided, well, I'm going to sit in the back. I'm going to go ahead and pray. You know, I don't know the people here. And I was sitting down there praying. All of a sudden, somebody came and sat down next to me
We'll pull that up a little.
and said to me, the Lord has a word for you. I would like to pray for you. I said, sure, I'll take it. I accept it. And they began to pray for me. They lay hands on me. And all the people came around me and then began to say that the Lord was about to open doors that no man will be able to shut.
Wow.
That I will be speaking to kings and queens and multitudes. And you know, I understand, giving prophetic word and so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, how could this possibly? I didn't understand it then. When he was saying, I accepted it. I said, yes, I accept whatever you have for me, Lord. And 3 days later, I heard on the radio, I heard in the news, there's a movement taking place in City Hall. There's activists out there. And I say, let me go see what's going on. When I went over there, right away, I'm looking all these tents and everything, and I'm talking to people, and they tell me about the social ills that they fighting for, that they're standing for. And I say, you know what? I have a social ill that people need to hear about. I know thousands of people that are losing their homes. And they say, come on in. Bring your tent. Bring whatever you want. You'll have a place over here. And surely I did. I brought in my computers. I brought in my tent. I had one of the biggest tents. And they gave me a space which was right next to the street, Main Street. And that happened to be where all the media was coming
Oh,
and
wow.
partying.
Wow.
I was the first person
That they
people
talked
that would talk
There
to.
you go.
And I knew my stuff.
Free.
How amazing.
Oh, no, I'm not
God
laughing,
and
but
that
that's-
prophetic
wow.
word was fulfilled.
And and then I became the Occupy LA's point person to speak with the media.
Wow.
And I can tell you, when the media came and say, oh, yeah, you see that drunk over there? This is what Occupy. I say, no, let me tell you about why people are drunk. You know what I mean? And I understood the reasons of people,
Yeah.
falling into a state of being
Heck yeah,
drunk,
depression and despair.
homelessness, and so on and so forth. And they cannot tell me anything that I didn't know because I understood, because I have lived it.
'Cause
I
you went
understood
through
why
it.
people were, I understood why people were losing their homes. It was not because the people decided to commit a crime. You know what I mean? 12 million people didn't decided one day, I'm going to commit mortgage fraud. And I'm
Right.
going to, you know what I mean? No, it was Wall Street that basically committed fraud against the people. And we began to change the conversation. And through the Occupy movement, if there's anything that the Occupy movement did, it changed the conversation. It put the
Yeah.
blame where it belonged.
Yeah.
It belonged on Wall Street. The fraud was committed at Wall Street, not with the people.
Well, that is amazing how
Wow,
God
man.
worked.
Boy,
Because
what
when
a
we
s-
come back
Wow.
with Carlos, you're going to find out about the Dakota pipeline and how he exposed it. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to come right back. I want you to stay tuned.
Joy in my house, joy in my house, joy. I got joy.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
My clothes ain't all fancy, and my car ain't brand new, but there is joy in my house.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on LATalkLive.com. Inspirational radio,
with a touch of recovery.
a reality show where nothing is left unsaid,
And no one is insignificant who says it.
exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality show with a touch of recovery, a reality show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who shares.
I'm joined here by my co-host, Lolita Robinson, and author of Shaped by the Master's Hand,
I'm really glad to be here.
and our in-studio guest, Carlos. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I just want to say one thing. This is our first activist. And this is the first time we've had a guest who's brought social issues, because usually we do inspiration, we talk about recovery. And so we're doing some social commentary, which I think is excellent. So we are not taking any sides. Okay, we are open and we want to hear, because I'm learning a lot too. I didn't know what occupation, what it was all about. I know people were disgruntled, and I had no idea that these kind of things were going on. So I'm glad that you're here. But we're leaving it open. We are not taking any kind of sides, but we want to be open to what people are saying. And I'm learning a lot today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me here. And it's very important for us to know, like I say, I'm a Christian. And as a Christian, I understand, some of the principles that we stand by.
Right.
And some of those principles has to be with being honest and taking ourselves and doing the best we can, not hurting others and so on. So I have seen, this life of mine has taken me, of activism has taken me and seeing things that usually ordinary people would not see.
Right.
Well, that's what I respect about you. You didn't just see a movement and decide, I'm going to just jump on. You've lived this.
Right.
This happened to you.
Right.
So this is a real passion. And I really applaud you for that. I think some people are just looking for something to get involved in and to start mayhem. But that's not what you're talking about.
And we educated the public. A lot of these young kids, they get judged. But I have worked with some of these kids, and I tell you the love that they have for other people, and these are non-Christians sometimes,
Right. And some
they
of them
tell
are
you.
young, too.
And a lot of them, when they see what you do, and I let them know I'm a Christian. I pray with them, and they respect that, and when they see how we're able to help people, where families are being thrown out of their homes, and we put them back in there, and we challenge the system, and we show them how they have error in their ways, how they have defrauded people, and we're able to do that. And these are very educated kids that go and they do research and stuff, and we're able to put things together. So we're not only out there protesting on the streets, but we also doing a lot of policy work. You know,
That's
where
right.
we putting proposals together for a system so that it will work for all of us,
Right.
not just the very rich people.
Okay.
Amen. Because you did expose the Dakota pipeline. Why don't you tell us what that was about? Because that was very, very much covered in the media.
Right. Well, just before that, I got really involved with Bernie Sanders, and what drove me to get involved with Bernie Sanders was because of the social issues that he was taking on, that he spoke about those very things that were hurting the people, and I respected that, and I got really involved with him, and we happened to create a organization here in Los Angeles called the Bernie Sanders Brigade that takes on issues. Again, these are the issues that we care about, that affect our families and so on. And so it grew to be a very big organization. Just on Facebook alone, we have, I believe, something like 86,000 followers. And
You still a part of it?
Yes,
Or this was when he was running.
when he was running, I was
You
part of
campaigned for
the
him?
campaign. I
Okay.
campaigned. I organized the young people. We mobilized a lot of people doing door knocking and doing everything. And we actually did. We did a lot. We did a lot for the Bernie Sanders campaign, and we basically thought that he should have won. But we're not going to talk politics. But what I want to say is that through him, I was able to network with so many people across the states. So we
Right.
have a
Right.
big following, a huge following, which I'm still part of. I'm still organizing. I'm a strategic organizer for the Bernie Sanders Brigade. And we do very strategic things regarding social issues. That's what we're following, social issues.
Just broad social issues, or are you targeting one thing like immigration, or are you targeting healthcare, or
Well,
when you say
right now,
all of
this time,
those, yeah.
at this time, we're working in three projects. We're doing affordable housing. We see how here in Southern California,
Oh, gosh.
housing, who can afford a house
Whoa.
nowadays?
Who
Right, I
can?
know.
Not even a two-family, two-working, two-income home.
Yeah.
Right.
These houses are
So
ridiculous.
it's very
Right.
targeted. We're going to be very focused on affordable housing. You know what I mean?
Okay,
What are
yeah.
the roots of the problems? What's taking place? What are
Right.
new proposals we need to put to the city? So I have relationship through the Occupy movement and through all
Okay,
that
yeah.
with officials, government officials. So we're able to, like I say, God has opened doors that no man can
Oh,
that
shut.
no
That
man
is
can
so
shut.
true.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
So I have met with very, very important
Good
people,
for you.
high level important people. So we're taking that on. We are taking also public banking. We want to introduce public banking to
look at you.
California.
Wow.
what's
And
public banking?
Public banking is basically where instead of California investing in Wall Street, putting their money over there where it stays in Wall Street,
Right.
the profit stays in Wall Street. Public banking basically will be a bank of California where you invest in California. The money stays here.
Oh,
It's almost like a
wow.
credit union.
Right.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was going to
Like
say
a
that.
credit union, yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
basically, the money will stay here, and you will invest in your own projects.
Amen to
Well,
that.
is that a big, tall, lofty goal? I mean, is it something that is it attainable? 'Cause it
It's
sounds
attainable.
hard.
People are talking about it,
Good.
especially with the crisis that we went on, because it has not been fixed. All those problems, all the issues that brought people to their knees and millions lost their homes, it
I was
still
gonna
can
ask you
happen.
that. That's what I was asking you. Is it still?
It still can happen. And there is right now here in Los Angeles alone, there's 30,000 families that are in foreclosure, and no one is talking about it.
Wow.
Well, I thought there was a big that the banks were being people who lost their homes could go to court, that they were restoring some of their
Very
assets.
hard to fight in the
Okay.
courts because people don't have money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how can you challenge
There's so
the
much
bank?
litigation.
Yeah.
There's so much red tape at the end.
Yeah.
It wears you out.
It wears you out. I seen people. I seen good, honorable people lose their homes. I seen seniors being thrown out to the streets, disabled people out on the streets with absolutely no mercy by the bank, even though that we can prove that the bank were wrong in what they were
That's
doing.
amazing. Yep. Because they have a little bit of,
You know,
they have a lot more influence, a lot more.
Right. So going back is
I like that. So the affordable housing
Yeah.
and public banking.
Public banking is,
Okay.
and we want to take on the student loans. You
Oh.
know,
Student loan.
Oh, that's
what-
right. He's trying to get
and
it-
that was
yeah.
big on Bernie Sanders.
That
Which
was- yeah.
I believe in education. My father being a professor,
Right.
Education, I think, is a key. You know, it's the first thing that the budgets get cut on is education, which is the last thing they should cut on because that's what propels our future.
we need to
generation.
invest in
Yeah.
in our children.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I can talk so much on that, but so those are some of the social issues that we
Well,
take
that sounds
on.
like enough to keep you busy for a lifetime.
And we have a
those
lot of
three.
people. We have a
Yeah,
lot of people,
geez.
great people that are on board, that are doing great work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's all volunteer work.
Wow.
None of us get paid for this. I don't get paid for this. All my activism, I don't get paid a penny. And
But it's
and,
your passion.
And that's
See, that's what I like.
That's the
It's your
passion, but that's
passion.
the, what gives us the greater voice.
Right.
And
There's
I'm-
no
my-
agenda. You're
and
doing
my
it.
secret is God behind me. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
Amen to that.
Look how your face just lights up, man. It's like, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, because you're, like I said, you're living this. You know.
Right. So when I stand before and testify before Congress or before anybody, I know what I'm talking about. When I'm telling you the banks are ripping you off, I know how they did it because they did it to me, and I can
Right.
prove it.
So have you been able to go to Congress and speak to this?
I've spoken. I have met with members of Congress. I have met with senators. I have
Wow,
met
that's
with.
what he said. The word.
You know,
yeah.
I have met with city officials. You know, the mayor. You know, the Speaker of the House. I mean, I met with so many different people that has.
Well, do you think they're listening, or are they just kind of like?
Yes, they
going,
are.
okay.
I
So
mean,
they are.
I think
they
that-
are,
Good.
especially when it comes from someone like me, because they understand that I have nothing to gain. I'm not doing this
Right.
for self.
Right,
This is
right.
for the people. I have met with CEOs from the banks, you know, where I have looked at them in their face and let them know how bad what they're doing to the people.
That's
You know,
awful. That's
and
awful.
and it's heartless, you know, and but like I say, there's a lot of stuff that we were able to accomplish here in California and through other states when it came to social issues. For one example that we did is we're successful in being able to bring the homeowners bill of rights that protects millions of families in California.
Wow.
Oh,
You know
that
what I mean?
is
Through an action that we
beautiful.
did. You know what I mean? We're able to change
So
that
people
one
can't do
vote
that
that was
anymore.
necessary.
With
Huh?
the bill of rights, for a bill of what's that? Would you say for
Homeowners Bill of Rights gives protection to homeowners.
from that happening again?
Well, certain protections from homeowners, so that banks cannot do certain things.
Wow.
So, like I say, we've done a lot.
Congratulations.
Well,
You
that is
have.
amazing,
You
Carlos.
have, Carlos.
And I want to thank you for coming on the show because we are coming to a close of the
Wow,
show.
I've learned a lot. Look, really.
Well, but maybe next time we could talk a little bit about the Dakota pipeline because that
Oh,
was
yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very important.
That was very
You
important.
know, and through the Bernie Sanders Brigade, because of the reach that we had, we were able to expose what was going on over there.
But maybe our
to
audience
Native
right now
Americans.
is trying to stay in their home. So I think you said a lot. So that was good too. But
We
this
want to
was good,
thank you for your activism. We want to thank
Yeah.
you for your service to all of us. You know, we need to be hearing this more and more. We need people like you who are educating, who are bringing awareness to some of these social issues that sometimes we have no idea. We just watch what the media covers, and the media does very minimal
Yeah.
on that. So we want to thank you for coming on the show.
Sure.
I want to thank you for being a part of it. But we like to ask this of all of our guests. The name of the show is Joy in My House. And we would like to ask you, what does joy in my house mean to you, Carlos, in today's day and age?
Joy in my house means to me is when I see people being able to stay together, families stay together. That gives me a lot of joy, you know, and I know that's joy in the house is because people are together. When you see them falling apart, that's hurtful. And I love to be able to come to speak to anybody, any church out there, and share the joy in my house.
Oh, that's
with you.
beautiful.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Very
Anybody
well
out there.
said.
And you can find out more information regarding Carlos at the Bernie Sanders Brigade at gmail.com. I want you to catch us live every Sunday here at noon with life-changing stories and talent that will inspire you. I want to thank you, my co-host, Lolita Robinson, our
Great
in-studio guest.
show. Thank you.
Carlos Marroquin, thank you. Our producer, Richard.
And Elizabeth and your friend, your lovely friend who came,
Martha.
And Martha, thank you.
This is Joy in My House. Catch us live every Sunday here on WWW LA Talk Live. You guys have a blessed day.
Joy in my house, joy in my house, joy. I got joy.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.